welcome. It's great to talk to you. What are you hearing, what are you seeing at this conference about data and the way that the services, especially the Navy, are integrating it into what they do every day?
Yeah, it's a great question. And one of the things that we're really seeing around data particularly is, I often think back to a document that the DoD released in June of last year focused around data adoption, analytics adoption, and using AI responsibly. So we're seeing a lot of that framework that was developed within that document here this week at FCO West, which is great. There's certainly been a focused effort from the Navy in trying to be more agile with their data deployments. Within that document, we're hearing a lot about how there's kind of a hierarchy of needs where data quality is kind of at the base layer, moving into leveraging analytic insights, and then, like I said, using AI responsibly. So we're seeing a lot of folks trying to move up off that ground level of data quality and become more data driven when they're making their kind of maritime operational decisions.
Do you advise people and organizations to think about that as a progression, that you have to do the first thing and then move to the second one and then move to the third one? Or can you do those on kind of parallel tracks?
I think it definitely makes sense to have the progression, because it's one of those, adages that we learned in math class when we were in high school. If you have garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So if that data quality isn't up to standards, or you don't know where that data is coming from, there's multiple versions of the truth, how are you really going to be able to deploy an AI model that makes sense and is trainable and at a production level instance within an enterprise deployment in the Navy?
Is there a point of diminishing returns, though, on trying to cleanse and organize your data? Can you try to make it too perfect and never get to the other steps that you talked about?
I think there can definitely be over-focus in some of those areas. But what we see is that there's a lot of very knowledgeable people within the Navy. Whatever command or enterprise program you're working in, a lot of them have a ton of domain expertise when it comes to working with their data. And we see that, my company with Alteryx, we see that sometimes there's a gap where there's, this person might have a lot of knowledge, but they don't have a tool that allows them to perform those data quality checks. So that's what we really focus on, upskilling those people who have a lot of domain expertise. And then that's really going to shorten that analytic life cycle so that they can get to that responsible AI deployment much quicker.
Are there other examples of gaps that you see or have seen?
Well, so I think, back to that document that was released last year, I think the biggest focus area, and you can call it a gap or an opportunity for the Department of Defense and Navy, is they really want to upskill and train and leverage the resources and workforce that they have, right? Increasing that kind of talent management idea. And I think that's really the biggest opportunity for industry partners as well to come in and leverage the great people that work within the Navy and the DoD and help them get to where they need to be.
I like opportunity better than gaps. And you had kind of anticipated what I wanted to ask you about next, which is, what's the collaboration look like between industry and the military services to leverage those opportunities and turn them into something?
I mean, there's plenty, right? There's tons of kind of industry days. We look at FCO West and how great it is to see all of our colleagues across industry here, but they're very collaborative. And I think it's, they're very willing to kind of raise their hand and say, maybe we don't have something right and we want to change it. And they look to industry and private sector to kind of help fill those opportunities, right? Not necessarily the gaps. So I think it's very collaborative right now.
Connor, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.